yeah, the backlash at TYT is real. The backlash with the viewers is real, at least if you look at their numbers and if you look at the responses from fans across the web. People are pretty pissed and they don't love the gaslighting. I think that's a big issue here. Instead of actually addressing what's being talked about, which is Ana Kasparian's right-wing grift, the groundwork being clearly laid in front of all of us. Instead of addressing this, I find it interesting that Cenk and Ana kind of want to just move along, not lean into the drama, not respond to their critics, not invite any critic on to debate or to actually win in the marketplace of ideas. They just kind of want to gaslight anyone that calls them out and keep moving. So it's an interesting strategy that I think has manifested and a real frustration from their audience. I think it would be one thing if Cenk and Ana really leaned into this controversy, really capitalized, frankly, on the drama, put out a video clapping back at their critics, right? I think a lot of people would appreciate that, not just because of the sensationalism and the kind of scandalous nature of leaning into such a public controversy, but also, again, defend your ideas. If you're so convinced that you're right about this and that the critics are incorrect, then come out there and say it. But you can't just sweep this under the rug. You can't just sweep this under the rug with so much of the fan base essentially turning on them, not just in the comments, but one of our viewers actually sent us this video. He's a longtime TYT viewer, Pendulous Dragon. He took the protest to a new extreme. Check this out. His former TYT shirt. I think people all across their audience are doing this. I don't think this is a one-off event, guys. I'm pretty sure TYT army members across the nation are
causing forest fires.
Look at that high quality merch, by the way. Look at that seriously good quality. They put their backs into that TYT merchandise. They wanted everybody to know, hey, we care about you. We're using your money wisely, and we'll always stand up for the LGBTQ community if it's convenient for enriching us.
Yeah, is this the gay rainbow one? I love that too. That's sick. That's awesome.
Our audience member, Pendulous Dragon, sent us that. Apparently he was a huge fan of TYT back in the day. Sorry, Griffin. He was a huge fan of TYT back in the day. Not very impressed by their recent trajectory. But before we actually look at the numbers and look at some more recent cope from Ana, her Substack, stuff like that, do you have any thoughts on this, guys, on the direction they're taking the channel and specifically their refusal to actually address any of the criticism or invite on someone to hash this out?
Yeah, Griffin, you want to take a stab at it?
I mean, okay, there's kind of two things here, like how they got here, and then also just like, should they respond to the criticism? I mean, basically, like any YouTuber that gets canceled kind of has the option to just kind of like show up and keep posting through it. And that generally works. I mean, literally, like Dr. Disrespect like went down for like shit, and then like came back a few weeks later and is just like posting through it. The majority of his fan base is still watching him. And it seems like more when you do a big apology and like take a break, which is like death for any YouTube channel, that seems to be like the bad way to go. So like, I guess, yeah, they could post through it, but what always kind of like makes my head scratch, to your point, Gavin, why aren't they like capitalizing on it more? It seems like they kind of want it both ways. Like they want to be these like feisty kind of rad libs that are going to kind of say what they want to say, and they're like liberals, but then like they don't always actually like want to fight it out. They don't want to like juice all that you can in the way that like Destiny will, where he will go into like any room in the country and like fight about it. So yeah, I'm always a little confused on their angle. While we were talking about this before the show, I was thinking about it and I totally forgot. Cenk ran for president this year
and Congress 2 years ago,
and he didn't even like turn it into content. Like, it could have been good content. Like, it could have been, like, inside him going around. Like, I know he, like, filmed it with a documentarian. I haven't seen where any of that footage is. But, like, he could have, like, both of them don't seem to be interested in making...
waiting for tax season to release that.
Because both of them could be making content on the channel, right? But, like, Ana wants to just go on, like, all these other shows and kind of, like, complain and kind of do that content over there.
Well, Ana hates when she goes live by herself because nobody watches.
But then also... oh, wow. So it's kind of like the Gavin Zach thing.
Ouch. Ouch.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So the thing is like also Cenk has actually been doing killer content this year by debating on peers all the time, like going on debates all the time, but he's not doing like any of that on his own channel. So it's like, I feel like they're both giving their best selves elsewhere.
That's a great point. I also wanted to take a look, we talked a bit about some of the lack of doubling down, some of the lack of leaning into the debate bro culture that seems like it could be fertile ground for the Young
Yeah, hit
Turks.
that shit up. Go
Right,
in.
I mean, stop
refresh
acting
the
like you're
channel.
I don't know why they're acting like they're above it. Some of their most popular content in the past has been leaning into the drama. It's the Young Turks. This isn't democracy now. Look at this. TYT responds to Jimmy Dore. I remember when this happened, this controversy, the Jimmy Dore, I don't know if he started it or if Anna started it, depending on who you ask. We don't have to relitigate all of that. But when TYT did respond, they absolutely clobbered. They got their most viewed video that month, I believe. This was one of their highest viewed videos probably of that whole year for them. So, I mean, even just from a purely monetary perspective, even just from like a views perspective, it seems dumb not to address this on air. It seems dumb not to lean into the controversy a little bit and say, yeah, I am right about this for reasons X, Y, and Z. My critics are woke or whatever. Like, say what you got to say. And then obviously Zach and I will have a heyday responding to it, of course. But, at least say your piece. I think it is very cowardly for them not to address it at all. And it's frankly denying the people what they want. Like I said, a lot of people that listen to TYT, they came to TYT because TYT did lean into sensationalism. They did lean into drama. They always have. But Zach, I wanted to put up this on screen because you tweeted out this today, I believe, right?
Yeah, this morning I saw this. And to your point, Gavin, we've been watching this for a long time on the Vanguard. We remember going live immediately after that Jimmy Dore clip came out from Ana Kasparian. They were firing back and forth. Kyle Kalinske was weighing in. It was a heyday for the early days of the Vanguard. But the Young Turks, dude, they're falling by the wayside. I'll just throw it up full screen for everybody. We'll go audio only for a second. You guys can see this is a channel with 6 million subscribers, right? A dream for any YouTuber. Almost impossible now. Griffin, you could probably weigh in a little bit better than that, but probably impossible now for any starter news channel to ever make it to 6 million subs without dramatic outside help at this point in YouTube's history. And instead they're of using that platform that they've built, instead of, investing in it and watering the flower. I don't know what analogy I'm trying to go for here. They've basically just let it rot. They've let it wither. They've
leader in fertilization I think is what you meant.
Absolutely.
The
in
Trump
vitro
line.
Fertilization. That's what I said. They're getting 15, 20, 55,000 views on a video, which you have to understand. For a show like this, we're going to imagine that for every 1,000 views they get on YouTube, they're getting somewhere in the range of $4, maybe $5 if they've got a really good deal with YouTube, but their clips aren't that long, so I doubt it, right? This is not enough to sustain the very large, high-cost operation of the Young Turks, and they just can't seem to figure it out.
Yeah.
So a few things there probably on the business end is like when you're a company as long running as TYT, there are multiple revenue like streams that aren't just directly from like ads, and like any company of this size isn't like existing just off one channel's YouTube ads. In fact, don't they also have multiple other channels that are doing better than this? Like Rebel HQ, I think, is one of them.
Well, that's a great point, Griffin. Before I let you finish your point, let's compare the views on the Young Turks main page. This is, I'm not cherry picking. These are just their recent videos. Some of them do better than others, but it looks like a pretty standard video does about 40,000 views. If you actually go over to the damage report, which is not abandoned the progressive mantle at all, John Ideological is a straight up progressive. I might have some disagreements with the guy, but he's definitely not a grifter. His videos are doing better than the ones with Cenk and Anna, which has to be a blow to Cenk's ego. He clearly considers himself alongside Anna to be the face of the brand. I don't know, bro. That would be kind of crazy, to be getting beat by John Ideological, who's nowhere near as big of a name. I mean, he doesn't go on Piers Morgan every week. He doesn't run for president, as you said, Griffin. John Ideological is a respected co-host on TYT or a respected host on the Damage Report, but I just feel like it's pretty crazy that he's getting way better views on the Damage Report. And I think
that makes sense to me. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me actually, because John is like very mellow and chill. He's like Cenk and Anna, who I love, and I think a lot of people in this chat and in like the Vanguard community think they're like grifters. I think they actually like really earnestly believe what they believe. I agree with a lot of stuff with Cenk. I don't agree a lot with Anna anymore, but I do think that she like earnestly like feels these things, even if she's gotten to them from dumb avenues or has reached dumb conclusions. I think she actually believes the stuff she believes. But both of them are like this kind of like id of liberalism, the angry, aggressive side, right? Like we're liberals, and like liberals don't like seeing themselves that way. Like liberals like seeing themselves like the Ezra Kleins or the Pod Saves. This like calm, soft voice. We're talking to you about the news today and how Trump is going to destroy democracy. Like, and so like the Radlib thing really doesn't have a lot of cachet unless you want to fight everyone and go into like every arena. So like someone like Steven, like Destiny. So yeah, it's this thing where I do see someone like John starting to just kind of grow and naturally just grow a liberal audience that wants to hear soothing tones. A lot of this is audio, guys.
Yeah, and let me push back just a second before I let you get in there, Zach. I think that you're probably right, Griffin, about the fact that in a sense, Cenk and Ana believe what they say. However, I do think it's very convenient that they refuse to actually debate these subject matters, double down, like we talked about, on some of these more controversial positions with their audience, and not just their audience, with a lot of the people that still work at the Young Turks or very recently worked at the Young Turks, people that were quit or were fired by Cenk and Ana because of disagreements. To me, it reeks of intellectual dishonesty or intellectual cowardice when you refuse to engage with any of those people, when you refuse to respond to your critics, and just totally isolate yourself when it seems like what are you hiding from? Do you is this a genuine transition? Because if it was, why aren't you just coming out here and explaining it? Why are you running away from anyone that wants to hold you accountable? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Is this a full transition? Is she going L to C? Or is she going to do the whole surgery? We're going to see. We're going to see if she fully transitions.
The other thing I think that, reeks of the grift element, right? Because I do think you're totally right. Anna's being honest when she says she doesn't like to see dirty, disgusting homeless people. She doesn't have to lie when she comes out and says like, oh, I don't feel comfortable around black dudes. I only feel comfortable around white people. That's paraphrasing, but it is essentially what her position is, right? When you have fundraised and paid your bills for a decade saying, hey, become a member of TYT, fight for progressive change. Do you want to be a part of a progressive revolution? Back us up, help us grow. We are the progressive change you want to see. Get behind us, fight, fight, fight. When you then turn on a dime, the second that goes out of fashion, when you turn on a dime and you're like, actually, I want to run to the warm, wet snatch of the right wing and indoctrinate myself in all of their culture war nonsense and be the left flank of the right. Yeah, I do think that comes across as a grift because it's clear that your political instincts aren't governing you. It's your own self-preservation and it's your own, desire to.
But I would argue that
capital and power.
I hear what you're saying, but I would argue, and I like the impact zoom when I started talking there. And although I just got a message from someone watching saying I look like I'm about to fall asleep. Awesome. If you're shouts out to that texter who will go anonymous. So
Hi,
I think that mom. I think that you're right. Hi. I think that you're right that they've like reached these conclusions through like grievance and I mean, especially with Ana, through grievance and through reactions to other people like online reacting to them and kind of getting shifted. But I would argue that's still like it's still earnest, or it feels earnest for them, right? Like they're not waking up being like, let me put on the mask and let me go out there and grift. They like earnestly are like, man, like people are just so mean and I got to do something about this. And I got to like really like make a mark and stand up to bullies or something. Like they like no one sees themselves as a bad guy. No one sees themselves as like as a grifter or whatever. Okay. So yeah, that's my point, I guess.
I do totally agree in the context of anyone who's not a political commentator who knows how the algorithm works and who understands the financial incentive to do what Ana Kasparian is doing. Like if we're talking about your Aunt Susie or something who, is turning into a turf. Yeah, I agree. But we're talking about a political commentator who has watched many of her own colleagues execute what she is currently in the midst of executing to massively lucrative results.
Yes, I could see. Obviously, some people can sense that there's like energy when like certain things happen. That is part of being a content creator for sure. But
to me, it seems
are you guys arguing? Politics. Are you guys saying that she actually secretly has more lefty politics and is putting on this like rightward like politic angle to gain money? Because that's what I'm asking in terms of grifting, right? That's my one hang up with the term.
Well, when I say grifting, what I mean is that she's willing to, read the room and say, oh, that's my politics now. I think that she is so amiable or malleable, excuse me, I guess either term would work, to whatever is in vogue, whatever is in fashion, right? If you go back to old TYT before Bernie, she was happy to just make lowbrow content. She was happy to just talk shit. She was happy to talk about Britney Spears' camel toe on air, right? She was willing to humiliate that woman during a very
Let's go
public,
back.
Right. That's what they need.
That's what they used to do. She was but now then she went into the I'm a radical progressive and everything is important. That's important to me is about.
We need a fourth mic, Anna.
Progressive politics, right? You know what I'm saying? And now she's like, oh my God, the left is so mean. I'm going to go on Jillian Michaels' podcast. I'm going to go on Iced Coffee Hour. I'm going to go on the Daily Wire and talk about how the left can't be reasoned with. Only the right wing can be reasoned with. That's a huge political evolution that can only be explained by two things. One, you're not relevant enough on your own anymore. And two, you're not making as much money as you used to be.
Yeah. Plus, she keeps playing up the fact that, oh, I used to be a hardcore member of this faction. Yes. And that's the classic grifter move. That's the Tulsi Gabbard. That's the Dave Rubin. It's one thing to just have and I remember, like, you know, a lot of people accuse Glenn Greenwald of the same thing. We had him on the show once and, you know, asked him to respond to that accusation that people said he was doing the Dave Rubin. And I remember he was like, no, I never like flamboyantly declared that, like, I'm leaving the left, as these people have been. And, you know, you can make of that whatever you want. I don't know if people in our audience think Glenn is part of that category or not. I don't really care. But the point is, I think Anna absolutely has participated in that kind of flamboyant rebrand. And again, it's all about branding. It's one thing to adjust your thoughts. Oh, maybe now I'm more pro-gun than I was last year because my neighbor got shot, or I don't know, whatever the hell. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, everyone responds to things that happens in their personal life. Everyone is vulnerable to personal experiences affecting their ideology. But I think when you come out here and do this flamboyant rebrand and make a big deal of leaving the side that you identified with less than like freaking 3 years ago or 2 years ago as a grown adult, I do think it becomes a little bit suspicious, especially if you pair that with the fact that Ana Kasparian constantly whines about not making enough money. She constantly voices her jealousy over people like Hassan Piker, who do make a lot of money, and people like Dave Rubin, who left TYT to make a lot more money. So I can't, you know, deny that either. I can't, you know, she's telegraphing something obvious. She wants to make more money. Where do you make more money? It's not by doubling down on being a leftist. It's by going to Fox News.
So you legitimately believe that she's secretly a leftist, but is now just going for money? Because I believe that she has had a genuine and stupid political evolution, and now is doing what anyone does on YouTube, is like finding the way to spread their particular belief in politics in a way that makes them sustainable on the internet, right? Like, because like if you guys are arguing that she's secretly still a leftist but is like doing the right wing thing, that to me would be grifting. But I think it's actually deeper. I think she's had a deep, earnest, and stupid evolution, and now is like, how do I make money on the internet doing this that I actually believe in? That's my point.
I think she never has had the conviction to be taken seriously as a political commentator. I think that she is performing. I think that she is kind of just saying whatever she thinks is going to elicit a response she's after. And I think that is where the grift comes in. You can't come out here and declare yourself a person of political conviction and then turn right around on a dime and be like, oh, JK, everyone. Oh, LOL, sorry. And not have a very good explanation for it, right? And she tries to blame. We've highlighted this, you know, very clearly on the show. She tries to blame a traumatic experience where she was a victim of sexual assault in public, in which case, I'm horribly sorry. We can follow her evolution as a right winger from way before then, right? It begins before then. So what you are seeing is somebody who has lied, somebody who has misled their audience into believing that they are a progressive. They are a wolf in sheep's clothing. What I do not like about the post-left that we are being inundated with right now is that they make people who aren't probably as politically sophisticated, right? People who don't have the time to really understand the nuance of every issue. And they say, oh, I know I'm getting good information from a progressive commentator that has been about this shit for a long time. And then very perniciously, they misuse that trust. They say, oh, you should be hysterical about crime. Oh, these kids that are robbing 7-Eleven, that's a fucking, oh my gosh, this is terrorism. Oh my gosh, they're letting, you know, trans kids play field hockey. You know what I mean? That's the kind of hysterical shit that they're pushing now, and they're doing it under the veneer of progressivism, which makes people much less, scrutinize it much less than they would if they knew they were getting some propaganda from Fox News or a right-wing outlet. That's where the grift is.
Yeah. Also, bro, like, I mean, if you don't think Anna's a grifter, like, do not. And I'm sorry, this guy called you an idiot, but like, who do
Yo,
you
please.
think?
Well, hold on. He could be referring to any of us here. He could be referring to any of us. So I mean, so with Dave Rubin, the thing about when people say grifting that I always, from an actor's perspective, I take a little bit of umbrage with. I don't think these people are good enough actors to have a secret set of beliefs in one sense, and then go in front of a camera every day.
It's
and,
no
and,
beliefs.
and like,
it's not secret beliefs. It's no beliefs, and then pretending they have those beliefs. That's the
so
grift.
like there's grifts I see right now online. Some things that I will say are grifts are like when people are like putting out like these like fake trash polls that show Trump winning or something like that. Like that's like a clear grift where they know they can get like engagement or clout. But for like a lot of people on camera, I fundamentally don't believe they're that good of actors to have a secret additional set of beliefs. Maybe someone like Dave Rubin like goes after like stupid things that like if he was really questioned on them, like he knew isn't true. But I don't necessarily feel that way about Anna personally.
Yeah, I also think that Lynn Stacks is completely correct when she says your brain doesn't let you do that for too long. You start believing it. People subconsciously convince themselves of a lot of things as soon as the money starts flowing. They might get a taste of the financial reward at first and they're uncomfortable with it for a little bit, but you want to, you start kind of going down that road. We've seen it over and over and over again with people like Jimmy Dore, for example, who start off by, oh, I'm not a Trump supporter. What are you talking about? No, what are you talking? And then all of a sudden here he is, absolutely a straight up Trump supporter. In the same way, yeah, I think she's probably in the middle of a bit of a transition like that, where she probably does still have an internal debate about these issues. And I'm not saying that she doesn't believe anything she says. I don't think that she's just a complete, phantom who's only regurgitating what she thinks will get her attention. If you watch TYT, obviously you'll still see glimpses of the old school Ana Kasparian who makes good points and stuff like that. But if you really look at the sort of new brand that I think she's projecting and telegraphing, like, this is what I want to be known as. These are the kind of podcasts I'm going to go on. I'm not going to go on any left-wing shows. I'm not going to have on any left-wing critics to debate this. I'm only going to go into the warm, wet snatch of the right, as Zach likes to say. I'm only going to
the
go
dry, dusty grease.
Right, but it's like, I think that's a big part of
Jill
it.
Biden. This is that Melania. No.
It is interesting though, and I think what you're raising really is just kind of a semantic debate about the term.
Yeah,
grifter. It's an overused term. I think a lot of people, myself included, can agree with that, even though we probably contribute to it being an overused term. I do think it's kind of lost some meaning, and it just sort of refers to it doesn't necessarily only refer to one specific kind of person, but I think Anna still fits the bill, even if you want to say that she genuinely believes some of the things she says.
For sure, which is why we got to break down this new Substack article, this hot Substack article. And someone in the chat said something about me being naive. Hey, who's in a 3-camera studio right now? I'm at the heart of this shit, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
I've got emails. Bernie Sanders' email list ain't got shit on my email list. Watch out.
1 second before we move on to the Substack article, I had to quickly point out too, what is going on with their thumbnails, man? I feel like if you had a 6 million subscriber channel and you really can't find anyone better to do your thumbnails, these are so low effort. They're so ugly. And it's just like, I don't know if this is actually contributing to their decline in viewership, but as a thumbnail artist myself, as a graphic designer, I recoil when I'm confronted with one of these.
Not enough AI? There's only one right here at top left, but it's about AI images.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're doing faces. Faces are good.
I don't know, man. These are
got some Cenk faces here.
Sometimes the photos aren't even in focus though.
Yeah.
That's because Cenk is hard to capture on camera. He's moving so fast.
Yeah.
It's a hard focal length.
Yeah. I did want to take a second. This is a paywalled article, and respect the sovereignty of Anna's fine work. We're only going to read the teaser to you guys. You guys can, do your own investigating, pay for that paywall if you'd like. But let's go ahead.
Oh my
let's
God.
talk about the real grifters, everyone.
Oh shit, I had no idea this was the headline after we just debated this. Guys, let's find out. Here's the real answer. Holy shit, what a reveal.
Well, let's talk about the real grifters. Is it Anna? Is it the Vanguard? Absolutely not. It's the people of California who run homeless shelters. Progressively branded nonprofits have repeatedly misused public funds. Why won't the left call them out? Voters in Los Angeles County will decide in November whether to increase their taxes again. So nonprofits tasked with sheltering the homeless can keep the gravy train rolling. Yeah, the gravy train. Everybody gets into, fighting off homelessness because of the quick riches, It's like getting in media. Of course, that's not how Measure A is being pitched to the public. Instead, the private nonprofits pushing the ballot initiative are alleging the plan is to raise another $1 billion through a regressive sales tax increase to build homeless shelters, housing, and other services. I'll be voting no. So
that's like 1 month of to the LAPD. Like, fuck off. Like, that's chump change. I'm sorry.
Yeah. In the second largest county in America, Los Angeles County by population, they're going to increase the funding by $1 billion. Ana Kasparian says no because she wants to be able to whine and fearmonger about the homeless for the next decade and a half. She wants to talk about how, oh my gosh, Los Angeles is so fucking disgusting and scary. I wish Rick Caruso were mayor instead of Karen Bass.
Wait, so she wants to keep a homeless quota of a certain amount so she can keep complaining? That's really funny.
The NIMBYs have to have it. She says, I don't believe the money will be used appropriately and with good reason. A recent state audit found that in just 5 years, $24 billion in taxpayer money was squandered on programs that failed to adequately address the homeless crisis. Let's take a look here. Audit finds California spent $24 billion on homelessness in 5 years. Didn't consistently track outcomes. Oh, that's an interesting study. Hey, Griffin, you're from California. How expensive is the rent out there?
It's free. It's cheap. We're groovy, baby. You catch a wave. Catch a sea turtle all the way over. They haven't really seemed to figure out like how to spend all the money the right way. Like, a lot of times, like, the LA City will do stupid things like, as opposed to like letting them be in like a hotel, they'll like pay hotel prices for like a parking lot somewhere for them to just like still be like outside because they don't want people to be inside. There's definitely like a lot of problems, but I don't think the solution is just no money. Like, I don't think the solution is do nothing. I think like we could keep working on stuff and keep funding the shelters in the meantime. Like, I don't know how no shelters fixes seeing, like, you're probably going to see more homeless people if we don't fund the shelters. So I don't, maybe you're right, Zach. She wants a certain amount in the street.
Well, the thing is, if you wanted to, from a leftist perspective, unpack why we are not seeing the success we would like to from these homeless shelters, right? How can we improve homeless shelters? How can we make sure that once people are, helped find shelter, right, that it's not so criminalizing to them, that it's not so suffocating for them, right? Let's talk about some of the reasons why folks would choose to be on the streets in California as opposed to in one of those hotels or camps, right? I'll give you a couple of quick examples. I've talked to some folks in Kansas City who are unhoused who have talked about how they don't really like the hotel model because you're far away from where you can get food. You don't know if you're going to be near a community. You're trapped in a hotel room basically all day. A lot of times they tell you can't leave and come back outside of specific hours. So you're basically in house arrest. Okay, when you're homeless,
or you can't have animals, and sometimes like your dog is like your dog or your cat is literally the only person in the world that like loves you and cares about you, and like you have to get rid of them. So yeah, that shit is bullshit too. But like those things are just like rules that need to be fixed. Like the hotel, like putting people inside is still good, and the hotel thing largely works, especially now that all these skyscrapers are empty. We just need to fucking take over all the fucking WeWorks across the country.
Also, I just feel like this issue, specifically in California, obviously a lot of unhoused people go to California because it's warm there year round. They don't want to live in New York City during the fucking winter. Obviously, if you don't have a shelter, for obvious reasons, you're going to want to be somewhere that it's warm outside. So California is saddled with a bigger issue in this regard than other states. It's one of the biggest states in the country as well. And I really honestly think that it's one of these issues that until you actually deal with like serious reforms in the regard of rent control and the cost of living, yeah, you could. I mean, it's nothing's truly going to fix the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just give all this money to homeless shelters and hope that you can continually, like, it's ever going to truly fix the problem. You know what I'm saying? So for Ana Kasparian to act like, oh, well, why we give all this money to these homeless shelters, how come there's still homelessness? Yeah, that's not the fix. It's like a band-aid at most on the solution, or on the problem, the real solution to which is much more difficult to achieve. So yeah, it is a problem that, you know, this much resources are going towards these kind of things instead of the actual solutions like rent control, like actually forcing landlords to stop raising rent on everyone and forcing out people, displacing people that have lived their entire lives oftentimes. That's the real issue. But you also can't blame the homeless shelters for trying to provide a band-aid, for trying to provide some sort of solution for the people in the interim, because obviously they don't have any control over the rent.
Yeah, I mean, Anna needs to start doing photo shoots with Gavin Newsom where they're just fucking taking down tents. You know, I'd like to see him and her posing on a carpet in the near future. And then, you know, if that doesn't work out, Anna, if LA doesn't shake out, just move to Austin. Go to Austin. There's no homeless people there.
Yeah, the police just round them all up and shoot them in the head. No, I'm kidding. That's what that's what they do in El Paso. No,
I am. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was, before we move on, I did want to ask you, Griffin. You know, I'm not on Substack a lot, and I guess you, Zach, too. I think you probably spend more time on Substack than I do. It does seem like, you know, Anna, obviously she's launched her new Substack. It seems like this is going to be the home of most of her new, more right-wing or right-wing coded takes. Again, she doesn't have to respond to any critics. She doesn't have to deal with any pushback from like John Ideological or Francesca or one of the other co-hosts on TYT. She can kind of just post in this echo chamber without much consequence. And I'm interested, you know, do you guys think she's going to grow the Substack? Because right now I think she's at 3,000 subscribers. It's not very impressive given how big of a name Ana Kasparian is, you know, given how much publicity she's generated based on this transition politically. You'd think it would result in a bit more than just 3,000 subscribers, but obviously it's still a pretty new page, could grow. And I think it's very clear that she's going for this exact demographic, like the blocked and reported Substack by Jesse Singal. They're not straight up MAGA, you know, they're not like straight up right wingers.
They're heterodox thinkers.
Exactly.
Enlightened centrists, Gavin.
And they have, you know, 58,000 subscribers. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Yeah. The blocked and reported Substack has 58,000 subscribers. I have to imagine that's generating a pretty decent income for the hosts, Katie and Jesse. So yeah. I think that Anna, you know,
she's got to do something big. She's got to do something big. If I was her, if I was in her corner, if I was her manager right now, I'd say, let's get you with the Nelk boys. Let's get you with the pedo guys on Rumble. Let's get you hunting some pedophiles for some Rumble coins. That's I think that would be fun. I think there's a whole buffet of options for her now. So yeah, I think her future.
Substack? Do you like Substack? Do you think there's good content being created there? Because I felt like it had a lot of potential for a while, but it did kind of get taken over by the Barry Weisses and the Jesse Singals and all these kind of cringe, like elitist, enlightened, centrist liberals or right wingers. You know what I'm saying?
I think almost anyone that writes is evil, except for like a few people. Like I think almost everyone should be lock them up, send them away, put them all New York Times, red triangle on the New York Times building. But so like, yeah, I mean, but like then like you'll get a great Ryan Grimm writing a Substack or like a Ken Klippenstein. So it's like, like most platforms, most creators are bad, I think is how I feel about it. I mean, writing, I think the idea of Substack is still pretty cool.
Yeah. That's true. There are some good Substackers. Good shout out to Kenny Klippenstein and Ryan Grimm.
Kung Fu Kenny Clips. Yeah. A true poster, back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't even read the reports. He just shoots them off. Doesn't redact a damn thing.
Just to conclude our segment on the Young Turks, I do think it's undeniable from a business perspective, at least, that the show is in a bit of a crisis right now. It seems like from a branding perspective, they don't really know which team they're on anymore. It doesn't really seem like there's a clear or cohesive message that is guiding the show. And, it's kind of interesting because I don't think that, I wish there didn't have to be, it seems bullshit, right? That to succeed on YouTube, you have to be like, this is our mission and you're with us or against us. And every video is going to contribute to this larger kind of call or theme or whatever, right? But that is what oftentimes will make a YouTube show really successful. It in its heyday, it's what made TYT successful. People felt like, oh yeah, I know what I'm getting. These people are, they have a cohesive message. They have an ideology that makes sense. Now it just kind of seems all over the place. It kind of seems like they want to get views from the right and the left, but not in like a breaking point style way where it's structured to have a left winger and a right winger. No, it just kind of seems like Ana and Cenk are lost. Like they're not really sure of what their ideologies are. They're not really sure of which team to commit to, and it's just bizarre. It's not really. Christian says it's nuance is not marketable, and again, it's like that sounds unfortunate. Nuance is good. We all like nuance, but I think that there is a way to have nuance that's a little bit more confident. This nuance feels like throwing shit at the wall.
I believe that's Ana doesn't do anti-Trump segments, only anti-Democrats. They've curated a segment for her, and she shows contempt for race issues. Yeah, that sounds like Ana. That sounds like the Ana Kasparian I know.
Yeah, this is actually true. I was watching TYT the other day. Cenk did a segment bashing Trump, and then he cuts to Ana and says, like, do you have anything to say about this? And she was just like, nope. And then they moved on to a segment where she shit all over.
I remember that.
It was like, you can't say anything about this segment. You don't have anything to say about this anti-Trump segment. All right, whatever. But it is weird, and it seemed awkward too. Like increasingly, I think another reason that TYT is losing viewers, it's not just because of the pivot. It's because the show increasingly sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's much chemistry. It doesn't seem like they're having fun. Like, to me, a big part of the appeal of TYT back in 2015, 2016 is that it felt like they were really having fun. Like, they had that crazy soundboard. They were always blasting those effects, animals are innocent, like all that kind of shit. That was like the TYT that I fell in love with. They were colorful. They were like use curse words a lot on air. They would say the F word, stuff like that. It really seemed like it was a joyful community. Nowadays, it's like, it just seems like everyone's miserable. Everyone's just like showing up out of obligation to take home the paycheck, specifically Ana. But I think it's really rubbed off on Cenk too, because I see him just awkwardly kind of like trying to adjust in real time to the new dynamic and not really being able to. It's kind of sad, like I said, given the fact that I once was a big fan of TYT, and to see them go in this direction is really unfortunate.